This is an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder. Now, the Stuph File presents Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy. It's radio that's out of this world.
Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy, is a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada and author of National Geographic's Backyard Guide to the Night Sky and also National Geographic's Stargazer's Atlas, the ultimate guide to the night sky. And Andrew, the space fan world is still buzzing about the recent SpaceX landing of a booster rocket back at its launch pad.
Yeah, so this is a big step forward for SpaceX and Elon Musk's basically dream to make humans a multi-planetary species. He's said that for so long. That's his big dream, really, is to have our species be able to live on different planets. And to get that done, you need to have the technology, the workhorse rocket, to make that happen. And that is really SpaceX's Starship, where that's the spaceship that sits on top of the booster rocket, this mega-sized booster called Falcon Heavy. And so the two together are stacked on top of each other, and this booster rocket and the Starship together, stacked, have been undergoing initial tests, flight tests. And this last one that happened, we're talking about something that's 400 feet tall. It's enormous. It's the biggest rocket, Peter? This is the largest rocket, even beating the size of the Saturn V from the Apollo era that took us to the moon. So this is really humanity's biggest effort. And it was an amazing last flight in that what caught most people's attention was the booster rocket, Falcon Heavy, being able to come back to the launch pad and being basically picked up, basically clipped by what they are calling these giant chopsticks, basically chopsticks arms that were on the launch tower. And it's like an amazing kind of maneuver of being able to catch this booster, because this first stage booster, the idea is to reuse it over and over and over again. So not to ditch it into the ocean or burn it up into the atmosphere, but actually catch it, grasp it. And this seemed like something out of science fiction. I was watching this mission unfold, and to see that first stage booster, being, picked off directly from on the launch mount, it's amazing.
It absolutely is amazing, to the point where, I don't know about you, I've watched it several times now.
Yeah, because you go, well, how exactly? Let me see that again. And, it's funny, as we're doing this interview, I'm watching it too. I'm watching the video again because it's just so cool. It happened 7 minutes after it launched the Starship spacecraft into space. It went into space, and it actually plopped down back in the ocean. The spacecraft did, but the booster is, I think, really where everyone was watching, because you have to remember, Peter, this is a major contract that SpaceX has with NASA, right? Right. It's a multi-billion-dollar contract where they are now, originally you and I have talked so much about them using SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft that takes a human crew to the International Space Station, launching those Dragon spacecrafts to and from the space station. We know that SpaceX has beaten hands down Boeing Starliner, right? And they're in business there.
Hold on. You say they've beaten hands down. That's like saying Usain Bolt took off at the beginning of a race, and the other guy is not even out of the starter blocks. That's what that is. Yeah. That's not even a fair fight. Yeah.
No, and you have to remember, this is not necessary. It's, it sounds great. I mean, it's a glowing thing for SpaceX, a black eye for Boeing, but you have to remember, from NASA's perspective, they might not be that happy because they wanted two companies. They gave out two contracts to two rival companies, and they wanted both of them to be functioning now as being a taxi service to the International Space Station.
Well,
and SpaceX has been servicing for 4 years now, multiple missions to and back, reusing the Falcon booster rocket. This is the smaller version, the baby version of what we were just talking about with the Falcon Heavy on the Starship. And they've been doing great there. But also, SpaceX has this other contract with NASA, again, multi-billion-dollar contract of building out the Starship system, the launch system, that we just saw being tested for the Artemis program that will take humans back to the moon. And in fact, the Artemis 3 mission that's slated, maybe we're talking about 2027, 2028, when the second mission to the moon, but this time actually landing on the moon, the first actually attempt to land, that mission is going to rely on the Starship, a modified version of what we were seeing with this launch system, where the crew will be on there. A crew of 3 will be on that mission and on Starship. And so NASA's really watching, how they're testing, how SpaceX is testing this Starship and the heavy Falcon booster, and to see it being, captured for reusability was one of these major milestones that I think NASA was watching from SpaceX. So, if they can repeat that now there's the proof of concept, right? There's that they said, on paper, they can do this, they can capture it with their chopstick mechanical arms on the launch pad. They did it. So can they repeat it? If they can repeat that in the follow-up test missions, I think we're in a different world of where SpaceX can go now.
Well, if you think NASA is upset because they don't have the two companies vying for each other, or with each other rather, to go into space, how do you think Boeing feels right now?
Yeah, I mean, and how does this bode for their ability to apply for other contracts and they're also involved with the Artemis program as well, and how is that going to affect all of the things that they do for NASA? I mean, they have a very rich legacy, Boeing does, but boy, they're having a lot of problems now, even with their workers, strikes and all kinds of things. So I don't know. Their hands are full there at that company.
Well, we talked about this the last time we were on, and the fact that some people are saying, well, why don't we just write off Boeing? And you can't just do that because they're so intertwined with NASA to the point where they're actually co-venture partners when it comes to the ISS. But the ISS is not going to last forever. As a matter of fact, it won't make it into the next decade. So if that's the case, would that be a time when NASA could wash their hands of Boeing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what you're pointing at is let them run out their existing contract with what the existing projects they have, and then just not renew them for future projects. But we'll have to see. Like I said, they're already involved with the Artemis program as well. Technologies from Boeing are incorporated into the rockets and everything. So the question is, will they, because of their rich legacy? We'll have to see. I mean, that's still a ways off, because the space station is still going to be around for another, maybe 5, 6, 8 years. And then we don't really know. It's not very clear exactly if NASA, and because things change, right? I'm thinking here, Peter, politics, right? Every time there's a new change up in the government, the U.S. government, and the White House changes from, Democrat to Republican, whatever, things always change. And so the story may still not be written, the end story for the space station. I'm thinking perhaps they may sell it off to private companies. There's been a lot of talk about that. Where will that go? We'll just have to see.
we will definitely have to see. And you know what has happened once again? We have had so many issues that we wanted to bring up on this show. We wanted to talk about the Chandra Observatory, which has been in space for 25 years. And as a matter of fact, that's something that we wanted to talk about probably 2-3 shows ago, and we just never got to it. Plus the idea that our neighborhood might be getting bigger than we thought as far as the universe is concerned. And, of course, we chatted forever on this particular issue, so we're not going to get to any of those on this edition of the Stuph File Program, but we could do it as a Patreon reward extra. Are you game for that?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. There's just so much juicy stuff we can get into.
Okay, so we'll see you on Patreon.
You bet. Clear skies.
Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy. You can go to our website at thestuffile.com to the page for this show, which is show number 0793, and you'll find links to Andrew's site to get your own personal autographed copy of his books. Patreon subscribers, you can hear more of Andrew as a Patreon reward extra, where we'll discuss the Chandra Observatory, our growing neighborhood in the universe, the viability of life on the moon of Uranus, and more. Just go to our Patreon page, and if you're not already a member, become one of the select patrons of the show. Visit patreon.com/The Stuph File Program.
You've just heard an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder. To hear any or all of the full hour-long shows, visit thestuffile.com. Stuph is spelled S-T-U-P-H. That's thestuffile.com. A presentation of Flying Fish Communications.